Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Today's Daf Yomi is Kesubos Kuf Gimel. We are holding two lines from the top of the Amid. Lo yomru shneim v'chulu. Back to the Mishnah. So we have a deal, a double deal. So what happened was, this wife made a deal with her husband in terms of him committing to feed her daughter, so it's his stepdaughter, for 5 years running. Then she separates from this man, marries another man, and made the same deal with husband number two. What happens? They're both now committed to feed this daughter for the next 5 years. Now she doesn't need two sets of meals at once. Says the Mishnah, one fellow provides the meals, the other one, demei mezainis, meal expenses. So actually, she gets a good deal, a double deal. Says the Gemara, Hu Gavra. There was a story about this fellow, he owned a millstone, a grinding system, and he rented it out to his friend. So Shimon rented a millstone from Reuven, litechina, for grinding purposes, which means like this. Shimon will provide grinding services to Reuven in lieu. Instead of paying the actual rent, instead of money, he will grind for him. L'soifi ater. Turns out that Reuven, the owner, got a bit wealthier. Zavin reichaye v'chamri. He purchased another set of equipment, another grinding system with a donkey to boot, which would run the system. Amalei, so he turns to Shimon, the renter. Ada idna, until now, I would use your the grinding services instead of getting actually rent from you, right? But now going forward, I want the money instead. Hashta havli agro. Could I have the actual payment for the rent? I don't need your services because I have my own equipment. Who's in the right? Amarle, Shimon responds, no way. We have a deal. I will continue to grind for you. I'm not paying you instead of grinding. Grinding comes out cheaper for me. It's just labor. Let's hold a deal. Savar Ravina L'meimar. Ravina figured this is the Mishnah. Haine Masnisna. We have two men who are meant to provide the same thing. So the both men can't say, well, after all, what have we committed to? To her mezainis. Okay, we'll ensure that she gets fed. Each one of us will give 50-50. Hare anu zana noisa ke'echad will provide together. No, we don't say that. Ela echad zana. One fellow actually gives the food, ve'echad, and the other fellow noisin l'dmei mezainis, he provides the mezainis expenses. Here as well, perhaps, true. You had only committed to provide, grinding services, but now he doesn't need it. He already has his own equipment. Give him the money instead. Amalei Rav Yehuda responds, how could you compare the two things? Midami. In the case of the girl, Chad Kresa Isla, she has one stomach, Tartari Krisasa Lesla, she doesn't have two stomachs, she doesn't need two sets of lunch and supper. So certainly when you committed to provide mezainis, it's either the mezainis, or if there's no need for mezainis, it's the main mezainis. But in the case of the equipment, Matzi Amarlei, the renter can tell the owner, look, Tachain v'zavin, Tachain v'oisev. Look, I have a good idea for you. Take your own equipment, Tachain, grind with it, v'zavin, and sell it to others, meaning provide commercial grinding services to the public at large. Tachain v'oisev, and continue grinding by me for your domestic needs. You have no claim against me. Why can't we just continue the same arrangement? Just because you have your own equipment? Make money off it. As opposed to the Isha, who doesn't need two sets of food. So certainly, in that case, one fellow has to provide the main mezainis. But, says the Gemara, when do we say this? When do we allow the renter to continue on the same track? It's only said, Ella de lesle techina l'reichaya. Shimon, the one who rented the equipment, has no other clients to fill that time. So he's going to end up losing if his equipment sits idle. But if Shimon, the one who rented the equipment, has enough clients to fill his whole day. So what difference does it make who he's grinding for? So in this case, we say, you compel him. to be a mensch. We don't allow him to conduct himself like they did in Stoim, who would refuse to give, to do a favor, even if it was totally at no loss to them. So here, if the renter, Shimon, who rented the equipment, has enough clients to fill his whole time, may as well grind for them and just pay the owner actual money as per your rent. Continues the Mishnah. We know that a fellow obligates himself in the Ksuba to provide for an almana, meaning upon his passing, the almana can still stay in his house and be fed from his nechas. So we have an almana, she'amra efshi lozuz mibeis bali. She tells the other kids, suppose they aren't really her kids, stepkids, look, I don't want to, leave my husband's home. I'd like to stay on. She's right. They can't turn to her and say, look, you have to go back home to your parents, and we will feed you over there. No. Ella zanen oisa, they provide for her right here. And they provide for her an abode, what is befitting for her. What about Amra efshi lozus mibeis abba? The other way around. She says, I can't leave my father's home. I want to go back home. In this case, the Yershin can tell her, while you stay with us in this home, we will provide for you. Otherwise, we will not provide for you. And the Gemara will give us the reason for this. But let's say she responds, I don't want to stay here. I'm too young. They're too young. It's inappropriate. In that case, she's right. Zan and Isa, they will provide for her even if she's back home. While the almana is waiting to remarry, mishta meshes b'mother, she can continue using the abode, the apartment, the house of her husband, kederech shenishtamsha b'chayi balo, the same way she used it during her husband's lifetime. She can continue using the ba'avodim or b'shvachos, the slaves, the maidservants, kederach shemishtameshes b'chayi balo, just as in the past. B'karam and b'ksasais, the bed linen, kederach shemishtameshes b'chayi balo, just like in the past. B'klei kesef, klei zav, silver and gold vessels, is totally accessible to her. Kederach shemishtameshes b'chayi balo, just as in the past. Why shekach kosavla? Because that's exactly what the husband commits to his wife in the ksuba. When he says, Va'at, and you, tehiyasvas bebeisi, you'll continue sitting in my home, umitzina menachasa, and being provided for and fed with my assets, kol yemei, megar, as long as there's a continuity of the armelusech, as long as the widow status continues on and carries on, you'll stay here, bebeisi. Armelusech, stop. As long as you're an almana, as long as you still identify with the husband, you're not looking for the ksuba payat, you're not looking to remarry, you stay here and have everything that you need. The word bevesi teaches us, Tani Rav Yosef, bevesi v'lo beviksi. Let's say it's just a cramped biksi, a little cramped home. It's not big enough for everybody, and the same children are back home. Suppose until now they lived out. Now they're coming back. In this case, she has no right to insist staying on. They can ask her to leave. Because he said bevesi, there's a properly sized home that accommodates them all, but not when it's cramped and uncomfortable. Marav Nachman, having said that, now that we know that an almana has a full right to stay on, the Yisraelim sold her place, her abode, it's a worthless sale. They have no right to do that. Asks the Gemara, I understand that's inappropriate, but why do we say it's null and void? Why would this be different than Rav Asi's halacha? The Rav Asi, Rav Yechanan, the Yisraelim jumped ahead and sold. Suppose father passed away, so if he left behind enough assets to accommodate the boys and the girls, so be it. But there isn't enough to go around. The halacha is the bonis, the girls, have a priority. They have first access to the properties. Now, what happens if the boys sold off the nechasim mu'atim, the assets, which really are meant for the girls? They're not supposed to do it, but mashem machru, the sale stands. So why over here by the home of the almana is it null and void? Answers the Gemara Hossam. In the case of the Nechosam Mu'atan, bottom line is, they inherited all the assets. They have a chiyuv to provide for the girls. But they weren't committed to their sisters during the assets were not committed to their sisters during their father's lifetime. It was a post-death type of arrangement. So they first received it. They legally took possession, and then they're supposed to give it to the sisters. They chose not to. Okay, it was inappropriate, but after all, the sale is legal. As opposed to the mother almana, the abode, the home which she is living in, that has been already committed to her mechaim during her husband's lifetime. She was already in this home. So that sort of never went over to the Yisraelim to begin with, so they have no access, no right to sell that at all. Amar Abaye, Naki Tinan, we have a tradition, a Kabbalah from our Rabbeim, to the following halacha. Mother almana, the home in which the almana is residing, shenafal, which fell apart, it collapsed. Ein hayarshin chayavin livnaiseh, the yarshim have no commitment, no obligation to rebuild it. Father had committed to your staying in his home as long as the home is still intact. Tani namihachi, we have the same in a brayso. Mother almana shenafal, if the home collapsed, ein hayarshin chayavin livnaiseh, they have no chiv to rebuild it. Not only that, even if she turns to them and says, look, allow me, I'll rebuild it from my own pocket. They don't have to go along with that because it's no longer the original home. Here's a question. Let's say she renovated the home. It was coming apart, she renovated it, it would have collapsed. But due to her renovation, it prolonged the life of that building. Does she have a right to stay on and on? Or can Jay say, look, if it would have fell apart in 2-3 years, so fine, so the next 2-3 years you're okay, but you can't stay on past that. Teku, we leave it standing. Tesis actually presents the question a bit differently. Shiptzamai means, is she allowed to renovate the home? Is she allowed to fix it up, to prolong its life? Take it, we let it stand. Back to the Mishnah, where the Isha says, look, I don't want to stay on here. I want to go to my parents and provide from here over there. Do they have to do that? No. Why? What's the difference? Let them provide for her needs back home, back by her parents. The answer is Ravuna, to write to Ravuna, Dam Ravuna. The more people in the home, the greater the abundance and blessing. We have 3 pshatim, Rashi says, around the middle, halfway down the Amid. Birchas Habayis Beruah. B'nei Adam she'ezrun zeh. Mistakron, more people are involved. One hand helps the other. The expenses are in a way lessened proportionately because, they help each other out. They take part in the domestic situation. So it's actually worthwhile to have more people living together rather than providing for each person separately where he is. In addition, says Rashi, Umazal the Rabim Adav. The more people around, the greater the mazel. They want her here. They don't want her sitting somewhere else and provide for her over there. Tesis has a different pshat. He says, Birchas Habayis Beruba, Pirush Rach. That's the bottom Tesis. Pirush Rach, Kigoin Hoda Amrina, like the Gemara Shabbos, Ner le'echa, ner le'mea. Just as one person can enjoy a candle, 100 people can enjoy the same candle together. So, they buy in bulk and they all enjoy the same equipment, etc. So it makes it the expenses are lessened when they all live together and join forces. Therefore, they can insist on her staying on with them and provide for her over there, rather than back home by her father. Asks the Gemara, okay, they have a legitimate claim. The living expenses are actually lessened when it's all together. But let them calculate that. Let them sort of deduct any extra expenses that they're incurring due to her living separately. Hachanami, you're right. That's exactly what the Mishnah means. It doesn't mean they're totally absolved. It means they can deduct that amount. Amar Rav Huna, Loshen Chachamim Bracha. If we pay heed to the words of the Chachamim throughout the Mishnayos and the Gemara, the Chachamim included many words of advice for success, such as this one here. They've taught us an interesting lesson. The more people, the bigger the bracha. So Loshen Chachamim Bracha. In the words of the Chachamim we find bracha tips. Loshen Chachamim Oisher we find wealth tips. Loshen Chachamim Marbi we find health tips. How's that? Bracha, Ha'adamar, as we just said, Birchas Habayis. Uruba, an interesting lesson. Where do we find Oisher in the words of the Chachamim? Desnan, Hamoicha Peres L'Chaveri. Reuben sells produce to Shimon. Ma Shach V'lei Madad. So you actually, pull the items. He did Meshicha. He brought it into his possession. V'lei Madad, but hadn't yet measured, the quantity. Kana, that constitutes a kinyan. So even though he's not really fully familiar with the exact quantity, it doesn't matter. You did Meshicha. That triggers ownership. Madad v'lei mashach leikana, but just measuring without doing Meshicha doesn't make the kinyan. Let's say the buyer was a smart man and he's buying a huge quantity of wheat, which makes it difficult to do the Meshicha. How does he ensure ownership? In which case the seller shouldn't change his mind and drop the deal in case the price goes up. So what's the solution? Instead of physically pulling the stuff, he sort of rents the location where the produce is resting, in which case it's like his domain, his chutzner. He's kind of through kinyan chutzner, it's sitting in his property, automatically becomes his. So Chachamim are giving us good practical business advice for success. Where do we find medical advice as well? Marpei Desnan. We have a Mishnah in Meseches Pesach. Lo yilois adam chitin. A person should not chew grains of wheat, the kernels of wheat. V'yanech al gabe makaso Pesach, place it on his wound. If it is Pesach, because because that chewing thing turns it into chametz. In any case, we learn a remedy for a makkah: chewed wheat. Tan Rabban. Bish'as betirose shel Rabbi. When Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the composer of the Mishnayos, the compiler of the Mishnayos, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi HaKadosh, who was a Chacham, he was a Nasi, etc., when he passed away, Omar, he called out, Lebanai, ani tzarech, I need my kids, my boys, to come over. Nichnasu banav etzla, his boys came in. Omar lahem, he told them as follows: Hizaru b'kvoid imchem, be careful to continue honoring your mother after my passing. Number 2, Ner yehi dolok b'mkoimai, in his place, meaning referring to himself, there should still be a candle lit at his place by the table. Shulchan yehi arach b'mkoimai, his table should be set. Mita tehi mutzas b'mkoimai, his bed should be set, should be made. And the Gemara soon will tell us that he would actually come back to visit once a week, Friday night, to make Kiddush. He wanted everything ready and set. Some learn the candle was always lit. Some say it was only lit, upon his arrival for Friday night. He continued by saying, Yosef Cheifani. This person called Yosef from Chaifa, Shimon Ephras, Shimon from Ephras. Heim Shimshuni b'chaye. Just as they served me during my lifetime, they were my Talmidim, they served me. V'heim Yishamshuni b'maisi. Likewise, they will serve me after my passing. The Gemara will explain all these directives. Hizor b'kvodim chem. Be careful to continue honoring your mother. Well, isn't that obvious? Doiraisi, that's a pasuk in the Torah. D'chsiv kabedes avicha v'semecha, honor your father and mother. Answer: Eishes av havai. She was a stepmother. It wasn't their real mother, their father's wife. Well, Eishes av nami doiraisi. Even that is chiv doiraisi. D'chsiv kabedes avicha v'semecha. The extra S teaches us, Es Avicha is referring to Zu Eishes Avicha, your stepmother. The word Ve'es, Ba'imecha, is a stepfather, Zu Bal Imecha. The extra Va, Ve'es Imecha, Vav Yisera L'Rabbi Esachicha Gadol. You're meant to honor the oldest brother. So why did he have to instruct him if it's a pasuk in the Torah, a drasha? that includes a stepmother as well. It's only applicable during father's lifetime. So due to the kavod, one is due to his father, that extends over to the stepmother as well. But after father's passing, there is no chiyuv. He's no longer obligated to be mechabe the stepmother, but here he was instructing them to continue on even after his death. Ner yehidolak b'mkaimai, shulchan yehiorach b'mkaimai, mita teimotzas b'mkaimai. My time and why? They need the candle, the table, and the bed. Kol beis shimshi. Every Friday night, Rashi says it's called Beis Shimshi, Ben Hashmashes, the known Ben Hashmashes. That stands out because you stop doing Malacha before the Ben Hashmashes. It's a known Ben Hashmashes, that's Friday night. So every Friday night, even after his passing, Hava Osi Lebesai, he would return back to his house looking like a regular person. In fact, the Gilyan Ashaz brings from the Sefer Chasidim, he was dressed in Shabbos clothing and, listen to this, he would make kiddush and exempt his family, because a tzaddik is considered alive. A great tzaddik is still considered alive even after his passing. He can be mighty them with kiddush. It so happens that that certain time, that certain Shabbos, asoy shivavasa. So while Rebbe was conducting his kiddush, a neighbor happened to come by. Kokari abava. She was standing at the doorway and calling in. Omra Amse, so the maidservant, the family, Rebbe's maidservant, shushes her. Shatiku, he says, quiet. The Rebbe Yosef, Rebbe's hish. Given the Shama, once Rebbe hears that the neighbors are getting wind of his arrival and his presence, Shuvla Yasa, he stopped coming. Shaloi lahoitzi laz, al tzadikim arishaim, so as not to put down and negate the tzaddikim of earlier times who didn't have this, return policy, and he didn't want to, stand above them, and therefore he stopped coming back. Yosef Chifani, Shimon Efrasi, Heim Shimshuni b'chayai, V'heim Yishamshuni b'maisi. So these two Talmidim will continue serving me after death. Savamina, they figured what he meant was, Ba'adein Alma Hu Dekamar. He meant they will continue serving him in this world, meaning they will attend to his burial. They'll be involved in his kvura. That's what he meant, Yishamshuni b'maisi, during my death. But what happened? Kivan the Chazor, once they saw that they had passed away before him, actually. The Kodem Arsaihu, their bed, their coffin, their death preceded his. La'arsai, they came before Rebbe. Amri, they figured, okay, Shema Mino, apparently, Lahu Almu Duka Amar. That when Rebbe said, they will continue serving me, he meant, in Ilam Haba, they will be at my side over there. Vaida Amar Hachi, so why did he actually have to inform everybody about this eventuality? What difference does it make? If in any case they passed away before he'll meet them upstairs. The answer is the Lloyd Lamru, so people should not speculate. Milsa Havoy Luhu. Perhaps they did something terribly wrong during their lifetime, which was Chayev Misa, they were deserving of death, and Vada Idna Namid, even until now when they were still alive, Zuchuse the Rebbe Huda Hani Lahu. It's only due to Rebbe's merit that protected them and kept them alive. Look, you see, as soon as Rebbe is about to die, they're gone as well. People will make that misunderstanding. Therefore, he preempted that by saying, look, I want to tell you in advance, I have my Talmidim who have served me loyally. They are righteous people and they will continue serving me in Elam Haba, so don't be surprised when they pass away, but right before I do. He continued, Amar Lahani declared, L'chachmi Yisrael and Yitzarech, he called out for the Chachamim of Yisrael to come and visit. Nichnasu Esloi Chachmi Yisrael, they all came in for their final instructions. Amar Lahem, he tells them, look, I know you're going to be carrying me from one town to the other to bring me to Kvura, but when you pass through little, medium-sized cities, Al tispeduni ba'yarais, don't trouble yourself to conduct eulogies along the way, only in the big cities. Vayishivu yeshiva la'achar shleishim yayim, and once, the 30-day mourning period passes, get the yeshiva back on track, get back to the starim, back to the learning. And finally, Shimon Bni, my son Shimon, the younger one, Chacham, he's a Chacham, but Gamliel Bni Nasi, my son Gamliel, he should be appointed absolute leader, the Nasi. Chanina Bar Chama, Yesha Baroish, who's going to take over the mantle of Rosh HaYeshiva, Chanina Bar Chama. So Rebbe himself incorporated all these titles. He was so big, he included the Nasi and the Chacham and the Rosh Yeshiva, but as so often happens when a great leader passes away, you need many to pick it up and fill his shoes. Altis bedune bayeris. Savarina, they figured why not do the hesped along the route in the medium-sized cities. Mishum tircha, he was concerned that all the villagers will have to come to the cities and be involved in the hesped. He wanted to spare them that trouble. Mishum tircha, that was his motive. But given the chazit, the sabti bekrachim, you see, but once he passed away, and they saw that when they were doing the eulogies in the large cities, when everybody came running, everybody from all the villages, they figured apparently he wasn't trying to spare them any trouble. Look, this was going to happen in any case. Everybody was traveling long distances. So why then did he insist on only doing the hesped in the large cities? Shema mina, apparently mishum yikro de amar. He was concerned that there should be a kavod, there should be a big crowd to honor, his kavod HaTorah, and that's why he instructed in this manner. Furthermore, he said, "Hoishivu yeshiva la'achar shleishim yom." Once the 30-day avelus period is up, go back to learning. Delay adifnim in Moshe, because I'm not greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. Dichsiv, where it says in Yeshua, actually at the end of Dvarim, the Torah, Vayivku b'nei Yisrael es Moshe ba'arvis moyev shleishim yom. Klal Yisrael conducted bechia, they cried and they mourned for 30 days. Okay, that's it. Everything has a limit. Once it's over, pick it up and move on. Telasin yom. So in fact, for the first 30 days, they were heavily involved in hesped. Saftin, they would do the hesped and be mama v'leil day and night. Mekan ve'elach, but past 30 days, they sort of lessened the intensity. Safta be mama, v'garsi b'leil. So either they would do the hesped during the daytime but learn at night, or safta b'leil, be masped at night, v'garsi be mama, and carry on the learning by day. And this went on until 12 months. Ad safti tresa yachishat, until the 12 months were up. How yomad ashkafte the Rebbe. On the actual day of Rebbe's passing, nafka bas kol amra, a heavenly voice rings out and says, Kol dahava bashkafte the Rebbe. Anybody who was present during his passing, during the that experience, mizuman hu lechaye elam haba, is heartily invited to elam haba. Direct ticket. Taisus asks Kasha, but everybody has a chelik elam haba, as per the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Kol Yisrael, the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelik elam haba. So what does the Gemara mean? Whoever took part in the levaya of Rebbe and accorded him honor gets a hazmana to elam haba. So Taisus is the top Taisus. He says in the second line of Pirush, Harav Ramir. There's a distinction. When it says the lashon mizuman, you know what it means? Everybody has a chelik. Question is how long it takes to get there. But when it says mizuman, open the doors. Without any difficulty. It's sort of like, you jumped onto the bandwagon. You came along with Rebbe's. You became part of the entourage. So if you took part in the kavod of the kvura and everything, not the kvura, the tira, and you cried along and you participated, you were involved in that experience, you've associated, identified with the tzaddik and committed to carry on his ways, etc. You identify with him and you go right along with him, eventually straight to Elam Haba. So that was the Basker. Hahu Kaivis, there was a story of this launderer called Yaima Hava Asi Kameh. So it so happens to be every day he would visit Rebbe. He was very close to Rebbe. Hahu Yaima, but on that day that Rebbe passed away, Lo Yasa, he missed the opportunity. He wasn't in town. He didn't come. Kivin the Shama Hachi. Oh, when he heard about the Baskoil, he missed that opportunity. Solak Ligra Vinafala Aro Meis. He went up to the roof and he was so agonized and he sort of dropped and he fell off the roof and he died. Yatzis Baskal V'amra. So a heavenly voice calls out specifically for him and says, you're also invited. Afahu Kaivis, even this fellow who missed the opportunity but then sort of made it up later, totally distressed and really, really expressed his agony at not having the opportunity to identify with Rebbe. Mezuman hu l'chaylam haba. He too is invited to Olam haba. Shimon b'ni Chacham. So Rebbe concluded by saying, look, my son Shimon is a Chacham, and my son Gamliel will be the Nasi. Micah Amar, what was the point of saying my son Shimon is a Chacham? What purpose does that serve? Hachikama, he meant like this. He was bringing out a point. Aval Bisha Shimon b'ni Chacham. Even though my son Shimon is a greater Chacham than Rabbi Gamliel, still Gamliel b'ni Nasi, my older son Gamliel is the Nasi, because after all, he is the Bechor and deserving of that Nasi position. Amar Levi said, Levi was sort of surprised at this whole back and forth. Trichal Meimar? Is that even a Chiddush? Why would Rebbe have to point that out? I mean, the Nasi should go to the oldest son. Of course, obviously, Rabbi Gamliel will be the Nasi. Amar Rabbi Shimon by Rebbe, so Rabbi Shimon, Rebbe's son, the one who was the Chacham but not appointed Nasi, he was kind of taken aback at Levi's straightforward response that of course, indicating that of course, Rabbi Shimon is not deserving of being the Nasi. Oh, you think we need you on your limp? Meaning, you're asking why would Rabbi have to say it? We don't need you either. A little bit of a sharp response. We know that Levi actually had a limp. The whole story behind it, that he performed this unusual and difficult acrobatic feat called kida. You see, Rabbi HaKadosh would submitted himself. He subjected himself to Yisurim to provide kapara for Klal Yisrael. So Levi wanted to sort of lighten him up a little bit, so he did this acrobatic feat, and he injured himself, and he started limping. And in fact, the Gemara tells us it wasn't just due to that; it was a joint. It was a joint effect of two separate things, because he spoke a bit. The Gemara calls it Atiach Dvarim Klapi Mala. The Gemara in I think in Tainus, that it was a bit. He sort of tossed up words to Hashem. When Klal Yisrael was experiencing drought, whatever, and he was a little bit direct by saying, Hashem, why are you ignoring, etc. So the Gemara says because of that, harsh expression upwards to heaven, it made him susceptible to injury when he did this acrobatic feat. So in any case, some Farshim explain that Chas v'Shalom, that Rabbi Shimon was being disrespectful. He was just saying, look, be careful about what you're saying. You're sort of negating me by saying, well, it's obvious that I don't deserve that position. Well, who needs you on your limp? He was sort of hinting to him what happened, that be careful in your words. In any case, the Gemara responds, my kashalei. Why was Rabbi Shimon sort of responding like this? Meaning, it would seem that Levi is right on. I mean, if Rabbi Gamliel is the oldest son of Rebbe, certainly he should be taking over the Nasi mantle. Why was Rabbi Shimon questioning that? Says the Gemara, Hakraka Amar. It's a pasuk that the position goes over to your oldest son. Yeshafat gave over the malchus to his son Yehiram. He's the bechar. Why would this be different? So it's pretty clear that Rabbi Gamliel is meant to take over. Difference is that Yehiram, sort of carried on, his father's ways. There was nobody else in the family greater than him, closer to his father than him, meaning he was the bechar, and nobody else was more chashav than him. He actually was a Rasha, Yehiram, but at least he was the bechar, and there was nobody better than him for that position. So of course he deserves that position. But over here, it was a bit different. We just said that Gamliel was the bechar, but Shimon was the greater chacham. It's sort of a toss-up. It's not so clear that Rabbi Gamliel should be the Nasi. Rabbi Gamliel he's not exactly taking over Rebbe's status, because he wasn't. He didn't have the same chachma as Rebbe, so it's not so obvious that he would get the position. Except that Rebbe instructed as such. Okay. Asks the Gemara, well, so then why did Rebbe pass it on to Rabbi Gamliel? Rebbe, my time of it, why in fact did he appoint Rabbi Gamliel then, rather than Rabbi Shimon, who was a greater chacham? Answer: True. Gamliel didn't have the same, level academically. Chachma. It wasn't the same. Didn't have the same, scholarly madrega as his father. But biyiras chet, in terms of yiras shamayim, memali makam v'esav hava, he was totally on his father's level. In which case, Rebbe opted to choose Ram Gamliel over Rabbi Shimon for this position. Apparently, scholarship isn't the only prerequisite, isn't the only factor involved when appointing a leader. You have the chacham, but you have sometimes a leader. It's more important for him to be a role model in terms of yiras shamayim, yiras chet, and personality and midas, to be a good example for the masses. Okay, and finally he appointed who as the Rosh HaYeshiva? Chanina Bar Chama, Yeshiv Barosh. He should take on the mantle of Rosh HaYeshiva, head the yeshiva. Lo kibel Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina refused to accept that title. Why? Because there was another colleague there who was actually a bit older than him. Shahaya Rabbi Efes Gadol Mimenu. Rabbi Efes was how much older than him? 2.5 years older than him. So he refused to accept the position. So what happened? Yosef Rabbi Efes Bereisha. So Rabbi Efes was compelled to take over the yeshiva. For Yosef Rabbi Chanina Avroi, Rabbi Chanina sat outside, knowing that he can't really, subjugate himself to Rabbi Efes's, authority. He knew that he wouldn't. He can't do that because he's a colleague. So rather than go in and sort of create a diversion, that was unfair, it's not nice. So he stayed outside, he learned outside the yeshiva. Who kept Rabbi Chanina company outside? Vasa Levi. V'Yosef Gabei. Levi came and sat with him and kept him company. They were chavrusis. Noch nafshi Rabbi Efes. So a bit later, Rabbi Efes passes away. And the position is available. V'Yosef Rabbi Chanina Bereisha. Now Rabbi Chanina took on the mantle of Rosh HaYeshiva. But he abandoned his chavrusa Levi, who now couldn't come inside, because he would create a diversion. Levi no longer had a person, a chavrusa lemesav gabei, to sit with him, because of the bubble. So he came to Bubble to look for some company. And this explains the story when they told Rav, who lived in Bubble, look, there's a great man. They didn't name him, they didn't identify him, but a great man arrived to Nahardah, Umatla, and he actually limps, Vidorish, and he taught the following halacha. Klila Shari, he espouses that the Klila ornament worn by women is mutter to be worn on Shabbos. There's no chashash of carrying, because Rashi says only prominent women wear it, they're not going to take it off and show it off. Okay. So they told him about a great man that arrived, a visitor, without naming him. Omar Sarab figured, okay, I know who it is. Shema mino nach nafshi Rabbi Efes. Apparently Rabbi Efes, the Rosh HaYeshiva, passed away, leaving the position vacant. V'Yosef Rabbi Chanina Bereisha, Rabbi Chanina took over the position, and that's why we have a visitor. So Levi no longer had company. Because he came to Bavel. How did he know that? Maybe Rabbi Chanina nach nafshi. Perhaps it was Rabbi Chanina who passed away. Rabbi Efes Kediyosef V'Yosef. Rabbi Efes remained in position of Rosh HaYeshiva, and that explained why Levi came, because he had no company. His chavrus, his own company, passed away. Because Levi had no longer had company. Also, that's why he came. How did Rav know what happened? So instead of Rabbi Efes passing away, and Rabbi Chanina assuming the mantle of Rosh HaYeshiva, maybe Rabbi Chanina, the chavrusa, passed away. Rabbi Efes stayed on. Rabbi Chanina passed away, and Levi came because he no longer had a chavrus. How do you know? How do you know which way? One pshat is, if in fact Rabbi Chanina was the one who passed away, Levi would have stayed there. He would have entered the yeshiva of Rabbi Efes, and sat along with everybody else. Levi Rabbi Efes makef havakayefle. If in fact Rabbi Chanina passed away, Levi would have just entered the Beis Medrash and bent himself, so to speak, to Rabbi Efes, the Rosh HaYeshiva. He wouldn't have had an issue with that. He wouldn't have come to Bavel. He would have stayed there. Before you say, for another reason. Rav knew what happened. Given the Amar Rabbi Chanina Bar Chama Yeshet B'Rosh, since Rabbi, during his passing, declared that in fact Rabbi Chanina Bar Chama will be appointed Rosh HaYeshiva Lo Yisagi the Lo Malach. It could not have happened that he would not have gotten that position. But Tzaddik announced it. Tzaddik ordered it. The Chesiv Tzaddikim, as the pasuk says, by Tzaddikim, but Tigzor Eimer V'Yekum Lach, a Tzaddik declares and Hashem fulfills. So it could not have happened. It had to have happened. Asks the Gemara, why did Rabbi HaKadosh choose Rav Chanina Bar Chama as the Rosh HaYeshiva? V'hava Rabbi Chia. What happened to Rabbi Chia, who was a very prominent person? Noch nafshei. He had already passed away by the time Rebbe was up to allocating positions. Really? Rabbi Chia himself told us, Ani ra'isi kivrei Rebbe. I saw the passing, the caver, the coffin of Rebbe, and I cried upon his passing. Apparently, Rabbi Chia outlived Rebbe. Eifach, let's switch around the names. It's Rebbe who was crying for Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia tells us, on the day that Rebbe passes away, Batla Kedusha. Kedusha, holiness, the way it's really meant to be lived, is no longer with us. Because Rebbe epitomized Kedusha on its highest level. So again, Rabbi Chia experienced Rebbe's passing. Eifach, let's switch around their names. It's Rebbe referring to Rabbi Chia, who passed away before Rebbe. But we have a brayso, Rebbe, when Rebbe was sick. Nichnas Rabbi Chia enters, and finds him crying. Amar Lai, he tells him, you're passing away, why are you crying? It's not a good omen. Rebbe, why are you crying? We learned in a brayso. You're meant to be happy upon your passing. If a person passes away happily, Siman Yafalei, it's a good sign. It's a sign that he's expecting a great reward. Rather than passing away with Bechi, with crying, it's not a good siman. I'll always remember the tzaddik, Rabbi Shmuel Brudny. We were neighbors across the street from us, and he had a heart attack. He passed away young. He was Rosh Hashiva in the Magachir, the Mir Yeshiva in Brooklyn. He passed away in the middle of the night. He had a heart attack, and they had Sola members who would testify later that when they took him into the ambulance, and he had just passed away. He was passing away, and he broke out with a big smile, and then he passed away. Sign of a tzaddik who knows what's coming. He's excited about Olam Haba. Part of Lamala Siman Yafalei, if the mace passes away facing upward, it's a good siman. He's looking up to Shemayim, source of his neshama. He identifies with spirituality. Part of Lamata Siman Ralei, his face is downward. It's not a good siman. Facing the earth. Part of Klapiyam, if his face is towards the crowd, Siman Yafalei, it's a good siman. He relates to them, he identifies with them. His passing is a kapara for them. Klapiyam Koisel, but if he's facing the wall, that's not a good siman. Siman Ralei. Panav Yeroikin, if his face is discolored, Siman Ralei, it's not a good sign. Panav Tzuhuvin Vadumin, his face looks healthy and reddish and natural colored. Siman Yafalei, it's a good sign. Meis Be'erev Shabbos. Siman Yafalei, because he's going straight into Menucha, which Shabbos represents. B'moitzer Shabbos, he passes away after Shabbos. Siman Ralei. Meis Be'erev Yom Kippurim, he passes away before Yom Kippur. And he misses the cleansing opportunity of Yom Kippur. Siman Ralei, it's not such a good sign. B'moitzer Yom Kippur, but after Yom Kippur, after he's been cleansed, Siman Yafalei, that's a good siman. Finally, Meis Mechoyle Me'ayim, passes away due to a intestinal illness. Siman Yafalei, it's a good sign. Mipnei Sheruban Shel Tzadikim. In most cases, Tzadikim Misosan Bechoyle Me'ayim, they die to intestinal illnesses, which is a cleansing experience to all that they had, connected and identified with this world, because the stomach is really, the most involved in Olam Hazeh. So, bottom line is, you should be exuding peace, satisfaction, happiness, and tranquility when you pass away. Amar Leis, Rebbe responded, I'm not worried, just the opposite. My crying is due to my losing the opportunity to continue carrying on in this world with Torah mitzvahs. Oh, so the bottom line is we have a kasha, because it's clear that Rabbi Chia outlived Rebbe. That takes us back to our kasha. Why wasn't he appointed Rosh Yeshiva? Eifach, let's switch around the names again. Rebbe visited Rabbi Chia, so Rebbe outlived him. Everybody say Malay Seifach, or another pshat would be Malay Seifach. Don't switch the names. And in fact, Rabbi Chia outlived Rebbe. Why didn't Rebbe appoint him as Rosh Yeshiva? He was a man of such high stature. The answer is, he was busy disseminating Torah amongst Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Chia asuk with mitzvahs hava. He was preoccupied with mitzvahs, as we're going to see in a minute. Rebbe figures, Loya Fagri, I don't want to interrupt his communal activities. And that's why he chose the other candidate. V'hainu. And this explains the following dialogue between Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Chanina. V'hainu dechim havo minzu. Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Chia, when Rabbi Chanina, perhaps this is Rabbi Chanina Bar Chama, and Rabbi Chia would have a friendly discussion, a friendly debate in terms of what's the optimal method to implement in terms of influencing the masses and bringing them closer to Torah and Hashem. What's the best way? So each one had his own, personal, way of doing things. Everybody has their own mission, their own tafkid, their own neshama. So each one, Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia, had their own way of doing things, of learning and teaching Torah. So they would have this sort of argument. Amalei Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chanina turns to Rabbi Chia, the D minces, you're arguing with me, you're fighting with me. Look, if Chas v'Shalom Torah would be forgotten from Klal Yisrael, I can restore it single-handedly. Due to my depth and breadth, I can restore the Torah single-handedly. The way to do it is just to learn and learn in your corner and influence Klal Yisrael in this manner. That's how you uphold Torah. Amali Rabbi Chia responds, well, my way is better. Ana Avdi, look what I did, to prevent the forgetting of Torah from Yisrael. Listen to this. Daisino kitni, I would bring flax, v'shadaina, and plant it. Umagaldalna nishbi, take the fibers and form it into nets. V'tzayad notavya, trap deer. Umachilna bisroli yasmi, shech the deer and serve the meat to the Yisayimim. Varichna megilta, and take the hide and turn it into parchment. V'mashcha the tavya, using the hide of the deer. V'salikna lamasa, the last ba mikri dartik. Then I would travel to a town where there is no Rebbe to teach the kids. V'kasivna chamsha chumshe, and I would take 5, Megillos. On each one I would put another chumash, Bereshis on this one, Shemois on this one, for 5 children. And I would teach 1 chumash per child. Uma asnina shitas sidri. Then I would go to Torah Shabbat Peh. I would teach all 6 Sedarim of Mishnais, L'shita Yenuke, to 6 boys. So each boy got a Seder of Mishnais. Then, before I left town, I told them to share the knowledge. L'chol chad v'chad. So I would address every single boy and tell them like this. Amrli, I would tell him, Asni sidrach l'chavrech. Take what you know, impart your knowledge, pass it on to your friend. And this way, everybody in the town became well versed in Chumash and Mishnayos. I was done with this town, I move on to the next town. V'hainu ma Rebbe. And this explains Rebbe's exclamation. Kama g'doyle masachia. He would exclaim, how great, look how wonderful, how effective, how influential are Chia's deeds. So bottom line is, Rabbi Chia had his own version of doing things. He would go out and spread Torah, make yeshivas, make koilim. A different system than Rabbi Chanina. So he was busy doing that. He could not be appointed Rosh Yeshiva, which would compel him to sit in the yeshiva and generate Torah in that manner. That just wasn't his thing. So we see 2 different aspects to teaching Torah. There's the environment created by the yeshiva, by the kollel, which does lots to lift the standards of learning in Klal Yisrael. But then we have the other system, going out and creating shiurim and outreach kollelim. It all depends on your mission, which only Hashem knows. So Rebbe said, wow, look how great the works of Chia. Amalei Reb Shimon Rebbe. So Reb Shimon, who was Rebbe's son, asked Rebbe, Afilu b'mcha? His deeds are even greater than yours? Amalei, Rebbe responds, yes, correct. Amali Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yesi. So Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yesi, asked Rabbi, Afilu me Abba? They're even greater than my own father's deeds? Amalei, Rabbi said, no, that's going too far. Chas v'shalom, of course not. Like, take Zois B'Yisrael, I would never say that, never. Your father was the greatest. Amar Lehen. Okay, back to Rabbi upon his passing. So he asked for his older sons, now his younger son. Amar Lehen Libni Katan Ani Tzarech, I need my youngest son. Nichas Rabbi Shimon Etzlai, so Rabbi Shimon came in. Masalei Sidrei Chachma, Rabbi taught him the ways of wisdom, whatever it takes to be a Chacham. The Mishnah Pirkei Avos, the Shiva Dvarim B'Chacham. He taught him the system. Amar Lehen, he tells them, Libni Godlan Nitzarech, now I need my oldest son. Nichas Rabbi Gamliel Etzlai. Rabbi Gamliel comes in on Masalei Sidrei Nesias, he teaches him how to conduct his leadership. Amar Leh, he tells him like this, B'nai, my son, Nohoig Nesius Chavaram. You're going to, associate with leaders. You got to know how to do that. Know your status, your position. You're a new person. You're a leader. And you have to treat yourself accordingly. Zeroik Mara B'Talmidim. In fact, impart awe, fear, generate ema amongst your Talmidim. That's how you conduct, your Nesius. That's how you lead. Eini, is that the way to do it? With fear and with a sort of a strong hand? The Pasuk says, V'yirei Hashem yichabit. He would excessively honor the great man. Who's that? What are we speaking about? This was Yeshafat. The pasuk is describing his conduct. He loved Talmid Chacham to such an extent because this is a king. When he saw Talmid Chacham walking by, he would jump out of his throne, kiss and hug him, and call out in dearness, Rebbe, Rebbe, Mori, my master. Here's a king, sort of negating his own position, belittling himself in honor of a Talmid Chacham. And you're telling me that the leader has to behave conduct himself with Eima and Yira and fear. Like Kasha, the answer is it depends whether it's in private or it's in public. Habit sin, in private, of course, be natural. Habit farhesi, but if it's out in public, then you have to, conduct yourself diplomatically, in honor and in defense of your position, to assert your leadership. Tanya will learn in a brayso. Rebbe mutal b'tzipori. So Rebbe, during his illness, was in the town Tzipori. But he had a designated, caver in Beis Sha'arim. But Tanya, really? We learned in the brayso. Tzedek tirdev. You meant to pursue peace and justice. Halech achar Rebbe Beis Sha'arim. Go to the best bezdin, to Rebbe's bezdin, in the town of Beis Sha'arim. So apparently he lived there, not in Tzipori. The answer is yes. Originally, Rebbe Beis Sha'arim Hava. He lived in Beis Sha'arim. That was his hometown. Elo kiven the cholash. Once he fell ill. Am to Yuhi l'Tzipori. They carried him to Tzipori, the Midlaya, which sits up high altitude city. Ubas Mavira has better air. So that's where he spent the days of his illness. But when he passed away in Tzipori, they brought him back to his hometown to Beis Sha'arim to bury him. We'll continue with the story Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. So what did we learn today? We started with the Dmei Mezonos. So both fellows committed to feeding this girl. One provides the actual food, and one the food expenses. The Gemara tried to compare it to this fellow who, rented the equipment. In which case we concluded that in that case, he can continue just grinding unless he has no loss in the matter. Then he may as well just grind for his clients and actually pay cash to the owner. And Almana continues getting mezonos as long as she's bebeis bala. She can't, continue claiming mezonos if she goes to her parents, unless she says, look, it's inappropriate, the kids here are young. In that case, we make an exception. Why do we insist on her staying here? Birchas habayis, we had 3 pshatim on that. She stays on, she has the abode as before, she uses everything in the home as before. Lashon chacham is bracha, lashon chacham is marpe, lashon chacham is oisher. We started with Rebbe. He used to come home to make kiddush, and then he allotted various positions to his children. We learned about the discussion between Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia in terms of how to influence the masses. Gedoyle Masechia, look, he sacrificed so much for Klal Yisrael. Why did he have to start from planting the flax to making the nets? The Maharsha says, you want to really have an impact, an influence on Klal Yisrael. It has to be pure from step number one, Mesiras Nefesh, from the planting to the netting to the trapping to the deers. You build Torah from scratch, and then you have really success and siyata d'shmaya. And we concluded that when one is in a position of authority, a nasi, a melech, so privately, you be natural and show dearness in an informal manner to Talmidei Chachamim, but in public you have to assert your leadership and earn the public's respect. Hatzlach Rabban, all the best to you.